Unveiling the Shadows of the Black Plague, a journey through history's deadliest pandemic. The beginnings of the Black Plague trace back to the early 14th century in Central Asia. The deadly bacteria, Ursinia pestis, found its way to Europe through trade routes. As the infection spread, it laid the groundwork for a catastrophe that would decimate the continent's population and alter history forever. Understanding the historical context of the medieval era is crucial to grasp the full impact of the Black Plague. This period was marked by limited medical knowledge, poor sanitation, and densely populated cities. These factors created a perfect storm for the rapid spread and high mortality rate of the plague. Early signs of the pandemic were often mistaken for common illnesses. Symptoms such as fever, chills, and swollen lymph nodes quickly progressed to more severe conditions. As the death toll rose, panic and fear swept through communities, leading to widespread chaos and a desperate search for explanations and cures. The spread of the Black Plague across Europe was both swift and merciless. Once the disease entered a city or town, it ravaged the population indiscriminately. The plague's relentless advance created a sense of inevitability as it moved from one region to another, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. The Black Death spread through Europe with devastating speed and efficiency. The primary transmission method was the bite of infected fleas, which were often carried by rats. These fleas would jump to humans, spreading the bacterium Ursinia pestis. Human-to-human transmission also occurred, particularly through respiratory droplets. Trade routes played a significant role in the spread of the Black Plague. As merchants traveled across continents, they unknowingly carried the deadly disease with them. Ports and trading hubs became hotspots for infection, facilitating the rapid movement of the plague across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Medieval cities and towns were particularly vulnerable to the plague. Overcrowded and unsanitary conditions allowed the disease to thrive. As the plague spread, entire communities were decimated, leading to abandoned homes and deserted streets. The once bustling urban centers became eerie ghost towns. The symptoms of the Black Plague were harrowing and deadly. Victims experienced fever, chills, and painful buboes, swollen lymph nodes that turned black. The disease progressed rapidly, often leading to death within days. The sight of afflicted individuals created widespread panic and fear among the population. Medieval medical understanding of the plague was limited and often misguided. Physicians relied on theories such as miasma, believing the disease was spread by bad air. Lacking knowledge of bacteria and viruses, their treatments were ineffective. This ignorance contributed to the high mortality rate and the rapid spread of the disease. Common treatments and remedies during the Black Plague were often based on superstition and rudimentary medical knowledge. People resorted to bloodletting, herbal concoctions, and charms to ward off the disease. These methods, mostly ineffective, reflected the desperation and limited understanding of the era's medical practitioners. Stories from plague survivors offer a poignant glimpse into the human experience during this dark time. Many recounted harrowing escapes, miraculous recoveries, and the loss of loved ones. These personal narratives provide valuable insights into the emotional and psychological toll the pandemic exacted on medieval society. The societal response to the Black Death was a mix of fear, chaos, and resilience. Communities implemented various measures to combat the spread, such as isolating the sick and enforcing cleanliness. However, the rapid, devastating nature of the plague often overwhelmed these efforts, leading to widespread panic and social disruption. Religious interpretations of the plague were rampant, with many believing it was divine punishment for humanity's sins. Clergy urged people to repent, pray, and seek God's forgiveness. This belief influenced public behavior and even led to acts of self-flagellation as individuals sought to atone for perceived wrongdoings. The Church played a significant role during the pandemic, offering spiritual guidance and practical support. Monasteries and convents became centers of care for the sick and dying. Despite their efforts, the high mortality rate among clergy members highlighted the limitations of spiritual and medical interventions in the face of such a virulent disease. The Black Plague wreaked havoc on Europe's economy, causing drastic shifts. Trade came to a standstill as people avoided markets and ports. With a significant portion of the workforce decimated, industries struggled to maintain production. This economic disruption sparked a long-term transformation, altering how goods were produced and distributed across the continent. Feudalism, the dominant social system began to crumble under the weight of the Black Plague. With many peasants and serfs succumbing to the disease, the labor force dwindled. Surviving workers demanded better conditions and higher wages, leading to a gradual erosion of the rigid, hierarchical feudal structure that had defined medieval Europe. Labor shortages forced landowners to innovate or face economic ruin. As wages rose, they experimented with more efficient agricultural practices, including crop rotation and new farming tools. These advancements boosted productivity and laid the groundwork for modern agricultural techniques, significantly altering the landscape of rural Europe in the centuries that followed. The Black Plague's impact on art and culture was profound. The omnipresence of death spurred a fascination with mortality, evident in the macabre themes of contemporary artwork and literature. This period saw the creation of hauntingly beautiful works that reflected society's collective trauma and a newfound appreciation for life's fleeting nature. Psychologically, the plague left deep scars on medieval society. Survivors grappled with overwhelming grief and fear, often turning to religion or superstition for solace. This collective trauma reshaped societal norms and behaviors, fostering a culture of resilience and adaptability that would carry forward into future generations, deeply influencing European identity. The psychological effects of the Black Plague on medieval society were profound. Fear and anxiety permeated daily life as people witnessed the sudden, inexplicable deaths of loved ones. This collective trauma led to widespread panic and a pervasive sense of helplessness, forever altering the mental landscape of the time. In response to the outbreak, authorities implemented various measures to contain the spread of the disease. These included isolating the sick, banning public gatherings, and enforcing travel restrictions. Despite limited medical knowledge, these early attempts at containment were crucial in mitigating the widespread devastation of the pandemic. Quarantine became a key strategy in controlling the Black Plague. Entire neighborhoods were sealed off, and ships arriving at ports were held in isolation for weeks. These practices, though rudimentary, marked the beginning of organized public health efforts, setting a precedent for future disease control measures. The evolution of public health policies during the Black Plague was a significant milestone. Governments and local authorities began to recognize the importance of hygiene and sanitation. This period saw the first coordinated efforts to clean streets, dispose of waste properly, and educate the public on disease prevention. Personal accounts from historical records provide a vivid picture of life during the Black Plague. Diaries, letters, and official documents reveal the human side of the pandemic, offering insights into the fears, struggles, and resilience of those who lived through this harrowing time. These narratives continue to inform our understanding of the plague's impact. The Black Plague drastically reduced Europe's population, wiping out approximately one-third of its inhabitants. This demographic shift led to abandoned villages and a scarcity of labor. The significant loss of life altered family structures, disrupted communities, and forced survivors to adapt to a new societal landscape, forever changing Europe's demographic fabric. Future medical practices were profoundly influenced by the Black Plague. The catastrophic event highlighted the importance of sanitation, quarantine, and public health measures. Medical professionals began to focus more on empirical observation and less on superstition, paving the way for advancements in medical science and epidemiology that would shape future healthcare systems. As the Black Plague waned, Europe emerged with a transformed civilization. Social hierarchies shifted, with peasants gaining more bargaining power due to labor shortages. The feudal system weakened, leading to the rise of a more market-driven economy. These long-term changes laid the groundwork for the modernization of European society and governance. The Black Death taught invaluable lessons about disease management and societal resilience. Communities learned the importance of swift public health responses and the necessity of medical preparedness. These lessons were carried forward, influencing responses to future outbreaks and pandemics, and underscoring the need for international cooperation in combating global health crises. Comparing the Black Plague to modern pandemics reveals both progress and enduring challenges. While medical advancements and technology have improved our response capabilities, issues like misinformation and resource disparity remain. Studying the Black Death offers insights into human resilience and the continuous need for vigilance and innovation in public health. Modern pandemics, like COVID-19, draw stark comparisons to the Black Death. Both triggered widespread fear, drastic public health measures, and significant societal changes. The rapid spread and high mortality rates highlighted vulnerabilities in healthcare systems. While technology and science have advanced, the fundamental human response to pandemics remains strikingly similar. The resilience of humanity during the Black Plague is a testament to the enduring human spirit. Despite immense suffering and loss, communities found ways to adapt and survive. This resilience was seen through the establishment of new social structures, innovations in medicine, and the eventual rebuilding of devastated cities and economies. Superstition and fear played enormous roles during the Black Plague. Lacking scientific understanding, people turned to religious and supernatural explanations. Widespread panic led to the scapegoating of minority groups, witch hunts, and bizarre protective rituals. These reactions underscore the power of fear and the human need for explanations in times of crisis. The Black Plague significantly reshaped European geography. Entire regions were depopulated, leading to abandoned villages and shifts in land use. Urban areas saw dramatic changes as survivors relocated for better opportunities. This demographic upheaval permanently altered the landscape, contributing to the decline of feudalism and the rise of more centralized states. Notable historical figures were deeply affected by the Black Plague. Monarchs, scholars, and religious leaders were not immune to the disease, and their deaths often led to political instability and power vacuums. The plague's reach into all levels of society emphasized the universal vulnerability to such pandemics, regardless of status or wealth. The Black Plague significantly disrupted trade and commerce across medieval Europe. Merchants faced immense challenges as fear of contagion halted the movement of goods. Ports closed, markets emptied, and supply chains crumbled. The economic impact was profound, leading to widespread scarcity and inflation. Trade networks took decades to recover fully. The role of animals in spreading the plague was crucial, particularly rats and their fleas. These carriers facilitated the rapid transmission of the disease. As populations of infected rodents moved along trade routes and into urban areas, they introduced the deadly bacteria into new environments, exacerbating the pandemic's reach and devastation. Family structures disintegrated under the strain of the Black Plague. With mortality rates soaring, countless families were torn apart. Orphans and widows became common, and traditional support systems collapsed. The loss of familial bonds and the overwhelming grief reshaped societal norms, altering the fabric of communities for generations. Memorials and literature about the Black Plague serve as poignant reminders of its impact. Artistic works, grave markers, and written accounts from survivors and witnesses commemorate the tragedy. These cultural artifacts provide valuable insights into the human experience during the pandemic, preserving the collective memory of a period marked by suffering and resilience. Reflecting on the Black Plague's legacy, its influence on European history is undeniable. The pandemic prompted significant social, economic, and cultural shifts. It underscored the importance of public health measures and reshaped societal structures. The lessons learned continue to inform modern responses to pandemics, highlighting humanity's capacity for adaptation and recovery.